to Aware. We are dedicated to communicating information that inspires your positive growth and change. Are you interested in a peaceful planet? Are you interested in optimal health? Are you living with purpose? Are you enjoying your life? We realize each person can make a difference, and our mission is to empower your awareness. The choices that you make in every moment shape your life, and we encourage you to realize that you have your own answers and to always listen to your own truth. We invite you to stay aware.
Hi, I am Lisa Garr, and welcome to the Aware Show. I have mentioned before that we are at this incredible turning point in history. Let's all be really super clear about where we are. Let's just put a big, huge dot on the map, on the calendar for this time in history, where responsibility and action and accountability all comes to this moment in our lifetime to, let's declare it, to end racism. Let's just declare it. Because we have that awareness now. We have that awareness. We have social media. We have shows like mine. We have networks. We're at a turning point. I just want to be really clear about where we are right now, because I am so excited. I'm a lifelong learner. 20 years I've been broadcasting the Aware Show, and there's so much that I am still not aware of. That's why I love what I do, and that's why we do this. That's why we have these conversations. That's why we take action. That's why we're here to close the gap on what we're not aware of. If it is our conversation around health and COVID, it's all the same theme. We can't breathe. And specifically, our Black brothers and sisters have been oppressed and in that state of oppression for so long, they have not been able to breathe. Think about COVID. It is a respiratory disease where people can't breathe. There is a theme happening here where we get to take a collective breath as a soul, a long, deep breath, as a collective community, and start to learn and broaden and have the conversations and make the commitments to end racism in our time. And so that is why I'm so grateful to be joined by Lisa Nichols, an incredible sister. I share her with the world as being one of the world's most requested motivational speakers, and she's here with us. She has served nearly 30 million people, and she's continuing to go through her incredible organization, which she is the CEO of Motivating the Masses. That is what she does. She also has an incredible organization I might not have mentioned before about motivating the teen spirit. I mean, this is just one of the things Lisa does. She's touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of teens, preventing over 3,500 teen suicides, supporting 2,500, probably more, dropouts and returning to school, help thousands of families reunite. And she's the best-selling author of 7 books. And I'm just grateful to have her here. My whole body, I have chills. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, sis. How are you doing?
So excellent. So grateful that we are here today together to rejoin in our conversation, to continue our conversation that we've been having. Yes. So thank you again. And I just want to get into it because we've been talking the last time we were on the show together, and you can check out the past shows, but you mentioned something that I wrote down a million times and have said to myself many times since our interview about intimate cultural proximity. Do you remember when you said this to me? Intimate cultural. Of course. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to dive into that, because you mentioned at the end of the show, and it meant something. It really lit up for you. It meant something more to you than we had time. Tell me about it. What does that mean to you?
Well, it is the intimate cultural proximity is why cross-cultural awareness occurs. It's not just intellectual education that will make you, for lack of better words, aware of someone's experience. Intellectual conversation, the study in a book, that is literally the first 10% of what you can get. The other 90% comes from intimate cultural proximity. And that can go across any line, intimate gender proximity, intimate religious proximity. It's the cementing and the submerging of yourself into another person's experience so that you can have an expanded awareness, expanded compassion, expanded empathy, and more education, which goes with the awareness. And so, but it comes with not studying from afar. Not analyzing from a distance. And I don't say that in a way of disrespect, that many of us study that way. I studied the South African culture and felt like I really had made progress in what I studied in the culture, but it was nothing like when I went over there for 28 days and I spent 28 days in the space with them. And so there's these two levels. So intimate cultural proximity, where what I would like to be a stand for and help to bring forth into our human experience right now are programs that support intimate cultural proximity so that our community at large as a human race, we can find ways to be together so we can eliminate our biases, our prejudices, our fears. A lot of that is based on what we heard, based on what we saw from a distance. It's not based on something we personally experienced. And so if we can replace those opinions and that intellectual, because what I'm seeing so much of in our public forums is everyone's going back and forth about their intellectual belief system. And while that's necessary, intimate proximity, cultural proximity can help so much of that. And so I believe that it should be put inside of our legal system for police officers to have a cultural awareness training taught by the culture that their division is going to be protecting, so that there's some awareness. And it's not a study of, it's a being with. And I talked to you, I talked to you in our previous interview about my girlfriend Anne, who I went to her Passover, her Jewish Passover, and how being with her over the years has helped me in that context of the Jewish journey. I've many white friends, and so I was always aware of that. But then that was a journey. That was a journey of spirituality. That was a journey of religion, and she really helped me to just see the beauty. And I kept finding myself going, oh, that's the same as in the Baptist church that I grew up. Oh, that's similar. Oh, that's similar. And I got to see all these similarities. I got to see all this. And so while it may not be like that, I think intimate cultural proximity is something that we should begin to design. I'm going to lean into doing some trainings in 2021, physical trainings. I may start with one virtual one this year, but doing some trainings where we actually are having cultural proximity conversations and cultural proximity exercises, and which kind of, it allows us to look at each other and go, okay, that's why you do that thing you do. Oh, that's why you have so much energy or anger or hurt or so much excitement around that. If I were a white woman, I'd want to ask a Black woman about, why, like, how did she get to the point where she prays the way she prays? Her faith is the way her faith is. How did she get that? I want to know. Being a Black woman, I'm going to ask a white woman certain things. I want to be able to create a forum where we have intimate cultural proximity to have courageous conversations that honors multiple cultures and allow the lines to just be a little less divisive and become a little more connected.
Wow. I knew there was more behind that. When you said it, it just had just big lights on it. And I'm like, what is that? Yes. Yeah. You have, that is a brilliant, now, I mean, just backing all the way up to the legal systems, just having, even with what we're seeing in terms of the small amount of police reform that we're seeing right now, I know it's just a tiny start, and we're, got to start somewhere, but to have in the neighborhoods that are being policed, to actually have forces like task forces brought together by the people in the community, the neighbors in the community, that then communicate with the police rather than the police coming in like foreigners into a neighborhood, to have that task force to be able to relate to first and say, hey, we've noticed crime's gone up, what's going on here, and that there is a dialogue happening there first is so, thousands of times more effective than coming in as just the out of the blue bad guys and not, from any type of context. Think about the healing that can happen. We used to have these town halls. They're gone.
Right. Well, and there's I think the key thing that we need to begin to put in place is more accountability now. And so this is an opportunity for there to be some checkpoints and some accountability, but the accountability needs to look like the community that's being cover, whatever that looks like. If it's an all white community, let the accountability, the task force, let the committee, let it look like the community. Just allow there to be some representation, some fairness, some expansiveness. And so I just believe that it's difficult for you to harm me when you see yourself. It's not that it's impossible, but I want to make it as difficult for you as possible. If there's that energy of aggression or that energy, or in those moments, so much I can only assume so much is happening for police officers. But what can we do so that police officer sees me as a human, sees my son? And I think that some of the training, I think it's not just in councils and in committees. I think it comes in an additional layer. When I talk about the intimate cultural proximity training for the police force, I'm talking about like a 5-month course taught by, it's a part of their qualifications to get their badge or to maintain their badge. And it's a course taught by the culture that is in hand, the culture of protecting. But I think it includes experiences, not just teaching. So I like I said before, it includes, having a meal, made by some aunties, that starts with a good salad and ends with a good peach cobbler.
And some collard greens in between. Yes.
Right. Some collard greens in between. It includes going to not so much the high school or the junior high school level and interacting and putting your gun down and picking up a basketball, but it with the kids, it goes to a first grade level and a kindergarten level and a second grade level, and being a part of some of their arts and craft days, just something that humanize the community and have a greater awareness. I just believe, I know that sounds like that's on the soft side, but we need to do it all. It's not one or the other. We need to do it all, and so I'm real big on education and experience, and then followed by, applied action. So I believe that the cultural proximity.
I'm going to play, because this is what we do. And I am, I don't care what I risk here, because I want to do this with you if we can. Now, I would love to do this if we can, just have this conversation with me, Lise, because when you said that, first, when you said, when a Black woman and a white woman speak, and again, it brought up in me of, all I have is deep reverence. When you even mentioned about prayer, and oh my God, I went to a gospel church once, and oh my God, every hair of my body rose, and it was so incredibly spirit raising. And tell me how that comes to, tell me that feeling for you. Tell me.
So let me first, and I can't speak for every Black woman. I can speak for me, and I think I can represent a lot of us in a piece of the culture, but not the whole culture, because people have different experiences. But first ask, because it's not entertainment for us. Why our faith runs so deep in God is because we had very little faith in the system. And so faith in God, so I want you to understand the core. Faith in God and church and church community and song there's a song by Tamara Mann that's so beautiful, and it just talks about, God, I'm tired. God, I'm tired. I'm just tired, God. Give me the strength. And so from back in the slave period of our history, we found refuge in church. We found that to be the place that we can go and lay our burdens down. Our faith in church and our faith in that environment has been a cornerstone of our existence, because for many times, and not always, and there's so many people where the space isn't safe, but that was our only safe haven that we had. Home wasn't safe because the master was there. Work wasn't safe because we were in the fields. Master was there. Church was the one place that white people didn't go to with us. And so you see more of our soul. So Lisa, when you talk about that gospel concert and we wailed, see that song is to replace the wailing of tears. So the passion that you see in all of our songs and in faith and in that conviction is because we haven't been able to go wide. And why haven't we been able to go wide? Because we haven't had the same privileges as you have. You look at any great movie, you got about one spot for the Black actor, right? Black woman, Black man. You look at the boardroom, you might have two, maybe. So if we can go all the way down, we can list it, and you'll see that where there's a multitude of opportunity for you, which is a part of what comes under the privilege, there are very small, very minimal opportunities for me. And you look at the number of people wanting to have that opportunity compared to the one who got it, right? And so you have that out here in the world when we go to church.
Yes.
You're not beating down our doors trying to get to our churches. So now all of us can sing. All of us can pray. All of us can dance. All of us can call out to God.
Deep.
This is our safe haven.
Yes.
It goes deep. And so we have been, it's in our DNA to go to God. Now, I'm not saying everybody goes to God. Every Black person believes in God. Please understand, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying culturally, take it to God. Because ain't nobody else listening.
Yeah.
I want you to hear that. Because you can't take it to the police department. You can't take it even to the educator, to the professor. You can't take it to the judge. You can't take it to the, right? And so we have nurtured the path that we have access to, and it's worked out to our favor. I feel like in my case, because I can go anywhere and I can experience many things, and my faith is not going to waver. Nope. Now, let me be very clear. And this might sting a bit, but you know I love you. I cannot tell you that I have had faith in our system, to be fair to me and my son. I cannot tell you I've had faith in our juvenile justice divisions, have faith in our legal system. I have faith in our political system, to be fair to me, to be fair to my son. I cannot tell you that. Right. But I can tell you I have faith in my contribution, have faith in my journey, have faith. And I think what you're seeing out now is and I'm gonna step out on a limb here, and I may make some people mad, and I'm okay with that. It's not with the intent to do that, but a part of the anger you're seeing now, Lisa, is we don't understand how Breonna's death or Trayvon's death didn't look as horrific as George Floyd's death. Not to minimize his at all, but we're sitting here going, well, you want to know why all that fury is out there? It's not a hate whitey fury. It's not a hate whitey. It's not hate white people. It's not that. So please don't take that on, because that's what it can start being played into. And people with a low level of consciousness, people who are all about hate, people who are all about divisive, they want to turn it into that. So you got to really be committed to rise above that and go, hold on, that's not about hating white people. That's about people going, I'm sorry, 500 people were treated like George Floyd just last year and last year alone. Not to discount what's been done to him. And I'm glad we're here. But you cannot tell me I don't have a right to be mad that it took us over 2,000 people brutally killed for us to get here. And so that's what you're feeling. So I want to be really, make you really, and my agenda in being on your show, and my agenda and being on the other shows, this is my third interview today, and every interview that I've done have been across the cultural line, and I'm glad those are the ones I want to have. I want you to know that people are angry, but they don't dislike you. People are hurt, but they're not trying to hurt you. Hurt just fuels hurt. And so a part of this is helping hurt to heal, and then reform, and then redesign, so that we don't find ourselves in this same hurt 20 years from now when your baby is in her 20s or 30s and when my son is in his early 40s. We should not be here again. And so it's important to understand where the emotion is coming from and why the emotion is so intense. And why it's important to understand that as white America, as our sisters and our brothers, as our allies, so that you can go, oh, okay, I get it. And then we start having forward-moving conversations like this and forward-moving strategies.
I absolutely understand the anger. Absolutely feel that it has to be. I feel that we should protest until we can't anymore, and until it isn't necessary anymore. We don't just stop. And I know that there are health concerns and so forth, but we have there's a lot more to be said. And the fact that there is so much anger, and the fact that there is so much angst, is what's getting the attention. If we were trying to lobby and make rules, it's not going to get any attention. It needs to, and it has to happen at the level of the people. And I believe, are in a society where we are now seeing that the people can actually make a difference, that we can take to the streets, and we can start to get to be heard and to feel heard. And this movement, as I said at the beginning of the show, we are not going backwards from this. We are awake to it. The thing is that we not going to go backwards, but we can't go back to sleep. And that's why I said we need, go ahead.
Yeah, it's to your same point. You're awake, but a part of it is being awake to the unconsciousness that we did have. Awake to I wasn't aware of that at the level I should have been aware of that. And I'm going to push some buttons here. It's also awake to the convenience, owning the convenient path of unawareness. See, unawareness is not only a circumstance, awareness is also a strategy. And you can't tell me, with all of our brilliance that we have today, that we weren't this brilliant 3 years ago when we heard about this before. We weren't this brilliant 10 years ago. We, and I say we, I don't mean me, I mean white America, who's unaware. I'm going to say that, but I use we because I'm always in the journey as well. So when you look at it and you say, I heard about the other ones, it didn't get my attention. I was unaware. I'm awake now. And that's not from a sense of shame to make you feel shameful or blame. None of that. It's to simply own it. Because when we're having these conversations, the starting point has to be, Lisa, that you acknowledge first that this ain't the first time. You acknowledge first that you've been on this planet, why it's been happening. You acknowledge first that I didn't prioritize this before. That's my zero. That's where I need to start. Because every time a Black man or a Black woman was killed, I felt it. I felt the hurt. I felt it at a visceral level. I felt it at a cellular level. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't breathe with it. Every time I saw my father, I saw my brother, I saw my son. And so I've been feeling this all this time. And so for us to start at zero, the first place is for you to go, I'm awake now to how unconscious I was. I own that. So I go, okay, good. I'm not crazy. It wasn't just playing on part of the world on the news. It was everywhere. You see what I'm saying as a starting point?
Yeah, and I'm fully willing to say, all right, where was my head? I mean, what was I thinking? As I look at these news stories, I'm asking myself that question. What was I thinking? And how did I digest that? And did it just move to the next story? And I mean, I have a hard time listening to there's a lot of news right now about this Orange County rapist and I lived through that. I mean, babies, I have a really hard time with it because I do see it on a physical and a visual level, and I shut it off. I just can't handle that much pain every freaking day of the news.
Right.
And yeah, it is. I'm really sensitive to it.
And you shouldn't. And I think a part of us moving forward together is saying, I take responsibility. I get it. And I understand what I don't know. And I want to know. I've never been and will never be. I'm speaking as if I were you. I've never been and I'll never be a Black woman. I'll never be a Black man. And I am understanding now for the first time at a whole new level, what does it mean to be privileged? I've had the privilege of not feeling and not putting any energy into that experience prior to now, and it not impacting my life. That's the truth. And then you go, and in being a part of this revolutionary change, like this is a revolution all day, every day, like everybody gladiator up, everyone hydrate up, everyone B12 up, everyone do your sit-ups, go to sleep early, get your sleep. This is a revolution, but it's a revolution for humanity. It's a revolution for all the right reasons. When we look back at Dr. King and we look back at Nelson Mandela, we look back at Cesar Chavez, we look back at Mother Teresa, we look back at Mahatma Gandhi, we look back at Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, we look back at those people and go, wow, we're in that moment now. They didn't do it for us to say, wow. They didn't do it to be written in the history books. They didn't do it to have statues made up of them and streets named after them. They didn't do it for that. None of them. They did it because in the moment, there was a revolution. And they wanted to be on the right side of history. They wanted their dash to mean something. And so we're here. We're here right now. Don't do it to be popular. Don't speak to impress, speak to inspire. Don't show up, to get likes. Show up to get movement, full court press. Don't full court press for the media attention, full court press for the movement of men and women. And so with that, I think there has to be an understanding that this is going to be painful. I said in our previous interview, it's like when I broke my ankle in 3 places, the doctor said, Lisa, this is going to hurt because but it's going to heal and you're going to be better because I have to break your ankle again in order to mend it correctly. And so he prefaced it with, this is going to hurt, but then it's going to get better. That's where we are right now, Lisa. This is going to hurt, but then it's going to get better. And It's being willing to sign up for the get better and sign up for the hurt, sign up for the uncomfortable conversations, the things that I may say that may make you feel like, wow, that was direct. Well, I'm going to trust you that right now you want the truth. I'm going to trust.
Absolutely.
I'm going to trust that I have your attention. I'm going to trust that I have not only your ear, but I have your heart. Because as Black people, we have learned how to tippy-toe around the truth so that you don't feel uncomfortable. We have mastered that, Lisa. We have mastered what it takes to keep you comfortable in our space. We've mastered that. We see the discomfort in your disposition. We understand the conversations. And you can talk to 10 Black people and transcribe what I just said and restate it and go, tell me your opinion on it. They'll go, she's telling the truth. Which is why sometimes, and I say this with respect and love, it's exhausting at times being in the presence of a white person because I'm accommodating your needs to stay comfortable. I've mastered that. I don't know if I've been taught that by my mother, by my mother's mother, by my mother's mother's mother. I'm not sure. But if we want change, then I need you to come and say, please don't edit anything for me. I'm a big girl. Tell me what I need to hear right now, you know?
I said I'm a lifelong learner, and I am a lifelong learner, and I am obviously open. My heart is open. My mind is open. I'm not afraid of being wrong. Please just expand my knowledge. And I also don't want to look to you to be the only person that expands my mind. I mean, I'm obviously have multiple resources. And I saw an interview of a wonderful doctor, and I wish I could remember her name. And she was on with the CNN reporter. And the doctor said to the CNN reporter, you shouldn't necessarily be having these conversations with Black people. The white people should be speaking to each other and educating each other. You don't need to look to us for your education. And I loved that. And that rang super true with me. Do your own reading, get history, get it, and different resources. Be insatiable about your curiosity of what you need to learn around this conversation around racism, and call yourself out. You don't have to find out from a Black person how you right?
Am I racist? Am I racist? Like there's so many degrees between racist and completely anti-racism. And there's this thing called race unconscious. And I think the majority of people, and I don't know if that's a true phrase, I just said it, but I think the majority of people are not racist. They're not racist. They're just race unconscious. You're African American race unconscious, and we haven't had the liberty as African Americans to be that because we've watched you on television. We watched your lifestyle. We watched the Brady Bunch. We watched the Golden Girls. We watched, every commercial. I remember there was a time when I washed my hair with something I saw on television and my hair started breaking out. And I went to the beauty salon. I'm like, my hair is breaking out. What's happening? She says, bring in what you're using. I brought in my conditioner, my shampoo, and my holding spray and all this stuff. And they said, oh, your hair is breaking off because you're using white products for white hair. And you don't have the right products. I said, well, these are the only products that I've seen marketed. They're like, yeah, we know. You got to find ours. And so you may not know that your hair has to stay, your hair, when it's clean, it stays dry. And when it's dirty, it gets oily. Well, my hair, based on the biological difference of being an African-American woman, I moisturize my hair. I put oil in my hair. And so when I'm using your products, they have alcohol in them. I shouldn't have alcohol in my products. I didn't even know that. Because I'm watching your world. That's one of the, so we know about you to the degree that we've known about you. Our grandmothers tell us about the families they took care of, and so we know that reciprocation is it needs to occur now, unlike it's ever been. Knowing a Black person is not enough of knowing a Black person. It is intimate proximity, it's studying. But I want to tell you something that's beautiful that's happened since our last interview. I talked to my nephew, and my nephew is 22, and he just graduated from USC last month. And he said, Auntie,
Congrats.
Auntie Lisa, I wanted to, and I love it because this is the kid who was held back in third grade because he couldn't hear, and no one knew that he had a hearing problem, so he couldn't learn. And so he really struggled all the way up to the ninth grade, and then turned it around and ended up at USC and graduating. And so he said, Auntie, I want to be a part of this social justice movement. He said, but I realized that I didn't know enough. I didn't know enough as a young African American. Like we have never had these challenges brought up because they're raised in a social media climate. So they got friends from all over the world because of social media. And history isn't taught. Black history isn't taught in the way Black history was experienced. And so he said, I need to learn. He says, so I started reading. Exactly to your point, Lisa. He said, I started reading. He said, and then I started talking to my friends and they all wanted to learn. He said, so now we have a book club with 50 young African Americans in it. The majority of them are college students. And so I'm joining them on Sunday for their meeting with the wise ones. So I don't know when I got old enough to be one of the wise ones.
That's great.
But one of the things I'm going to be yeah. So how exciting is it? And you may in the future may want to have him on your show because I was inspired by him. He said, listen, we need to learn. So they're reading Malcolm X's book now, and then they're going to read Martin Luther King's book, and then they're reading Nelson Mandela's book. They're just reading all these books to become aware as young African Americans so they understand how they can influence the future. And so 50 young, under 30 African American kids, young adults in a book club now.
Educating themselves the right way. That's
educating.
I mean, it really comes from your I don't want to say elders, Lisa. It comes from your aunties. Wisdom. It doesn't come from the books. It comes from the wise ones around you.
The wise ones.
With all that we're seeing, and I have been following the Million Letter Movement, which you mentioned last time. That is amazing. What has been put behind that? I encourage everyone to look up millionlettermovement.com. You can find the letter from your area with brilliant. So what this is you can explain it is in your area, your city, your state, someone has culled these statistics of what is happening exactly, of the change that's happening, reform, police brutality statistics, and put that all into a letter specific to your city and made a standard letter you can send directly to your mayor or your city council person. It's all done for you. We need 1 million of these to get more than 1 million. Let's just go.
It is the most seamless. So over 73 people joined this volunteer team, with over 70% of that team not being African American, and it was about long-term systemic change. How can we initiate it? And what was done was we targeted the top 10 cities first. We have all 50, but the top 10 cities first. And there was a team of researchers who researched that particular region, Chicago, Los Angeles, Detroit, DC. They researched the stats for that area, dropped them into a form letter, and they're asking for the 8 that can't wait. And they're the 8 things that really can't wait for the long-term planning. And it's things like the chokehold, banning the chokehold.
I've got them.
Right. You have them banning the shooting of someone running away. What are they're powerful.
Banning the shooting of somebody in the back. That's, which is called banning shooting of moving vehicles, the duty to intervene, banning the requiring of force continuum, requiring comprehensive reporting, requiring exhausting all alternatives before shooting. We actually have to write this stuff.
Right. The fact that we have to write this in 2020. right?
What? That one got what? You have to require the right to exhaust all alternatives before shooting. What does that mean? Shoot first and then ask later?
Right, which means please don't shoot first and then wonder what I had in my hand only to find out that it was a cigarette lighter. So
Right.
what I love about this campaign is the letters, like you said, Lisa, the letters are done for you. And so this is your opportunity to go in, click the city that you want to send the letter to, and it's done for you. And we're only in our second week. I think we just entered into our third week. We're going to do it for 10 weeks. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Go back in. It doesn't matter the city that we're focused on, whatever city you want to send. We want to send 1 million letters out during this time. And it's real important. This is the time when we go, let's move out of just the pain, out of just the shame, and let's begin to move in. Let's move into alliance.
Alliance. This is what I was going to ask you about. What types of change do you see that is working? Now, in this case, you can seamlessly print out a letter to the chief of police in your city or to the mayor, both, if you and snail mail it, which is what we're doing right now. And there's no emails. It's better to actually have a physical letter.
Snail mail
and it talks about the statistics, which is great.
We want it to be piled up on their desk. We want it to be piled up on their desk with all these letters.
Don't just put it in an email because you can gloss over that or delete or whatever. So this is physical, which is great. And then what other things? I mean, I love this. And I want everyone to go to millionlettermovement.com and print out the letter in your city and send it to your mayor and your chief of police. And let's start. There's actually, in LA, there's 5 out of the 8 are actually implemented already. So that even, I looked up some other cities. Yeah, there about 5 out of the 8 are implemented in the cities that I looked up, and it just happened to have been coincidence. So we're getting somewhere. And I wanted to ask you that. Do you see that there has been changes? What do you see, Lise?
I see a response, which is important. I see a response. Ask me that again in 2 years. Ask me it again in 18 months. I see a response right now. And I'm going to say that. I see a response. I don't want to discredit and take any credit away from all the work that's going in. But if you have people rioting at your front door and beating down your window, you have to respond. What I'm excited about is the long-term systemic change. And you'll hear people saying that, which is why I want to be a part of the things that I'm a part of, that I can influence. And then I'm excited for what happens in 2021. I'm excited for what happens in 2022, because right now it's like the dust is here. Dust is here with pandemic. Dust is here with quarantine. Dust is here with the possibility of a re-quarantine. There's so much noise here that when it settles, then you go, now what's changed? Right? And so, yes, I see a response. I'm going to say, I'm glad at the pace of the response. And I'm going to say there was no other choice. And I'm going to say this. It hurts my heart to have to say it. But the same atrocity that was done to George Floyd was done to thousands others. The difference is that white America picked up the gavel. And then an international gavel was picked up. And so you see what I'm saying? It's like, if you did there's a couple of videos out there that are montages of, I can't even handle them, of this happening before, and go, well, what was the difference? What's the difference in George Floyd, right? And not to discount, he's a life, it was tragedy, right? But what happened there to make all of a sudden? What happened was it was too polarizing to ignore any longer. And so when that was the case, like, you know what? I'm not going to ignore this. And then they looked up and said, oh my God, that's a white person saying that. And oh my God, that's Belgium, and that's Europe, and that's Africa. And that's Greece saying that. Now, so when you ask me, yeah.
My daughter saw it about 8 minutes after it went viral. I mean, it went viral instantly on Instagram. And she showed me, she came into my office. She said, Mom, take a look at this. And it was instant. It was just instantly viral, which I thought that's also one of the differences, is that we didn't have social media in the 60s and the 90s to give us this incredible viral power, which puts the power back into the hands of the people where it was in the first place. Which we've lost.
And the other part is that worked in our advantage. I say that there are many gifts that came wrapped in the COVID sandpaper. And the gift that came wrapped in the COVID sandpaper was the gift of at home. And so there were more eyeballs on the video sooner, quicker, faster, while there may have been the execs and the stay-at-home moms who may have been busy, or the students or the professors or whomever they are, that may not have seen it before. They saw it this time because our lives were slowed down. And so not only did it go viral, but it went viral and new eyeballs that normally wouldn't see it saw it. And normally when something goes viral, it gets to the news, so you ultimately see it anyway. But this way, it just hit, and it hit hard, and it hit fast. And so
yes, and the at-home learning environment also was really great, because I remember the last election, my daughter was in a history class, and she would come home and say, the teacher doesn't want to talk about the election. She wants to stick to the history book. And I had just a fit. I'm like, this is one of the biggest hijacks of an election you've ever had. Nobody's what? And she's like, no, we don't want to polarize the classroom. And so this time I'm able to hear some of the conversations in the online learning, because she's, in the room, and I peer in all the time to hear what these teachers are saying, because I'm finally in the classroom. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. And you can influence some of that learning.
Yes, and they're bringing in the conversation of what is happening they can't deny it anymore, which is fantastic. So I know everything happens for a reason, and I know a lot of us are suffering from the shutdowns, and it is brutal. I mean, I have another company in the entertainment industry that has not worked since March 13th. We're in the audience business, Lise, and it's a time of pivoting. It is a time of waking up. I have a very strong relationship with God, and I am listening more than ever. I've never doubted his presence in my life, and I think I've shortened the waiting time of the resistance of the message to be heard, because
absolutely.
As you said, it's like we're done being busy to be busy to be busy to be busy. And I loved your Instagram post. I just have to read it because it really caught me, because it's me too, is feeling the need to be busy all the time is a trauma response and a fear-based distraction from what you'd be forced to acknowledge and feel if you slowed down. That was brilliant, Lisa Nichols.
Well, I speak personally. I speak personally, and you have to watch out, because you can be busy looking pretty amazing. That's been my case, or my busyness is pretty amazing to some people. And so it can even fool you to think you're not trying to outrun, or there's not an area of lack, or another area that needs your attention. And normally we're busy with the things that we've mastered. We're busy with the things that make us feel good. We're busy with the things that make us feel accomplished. And so, the gift that came wrapped in COVID-19 sandpaper is the gift of unexpected spaciousness.
And it brings up all sorts of stuff, that slowing down.
All sort of stuff. Yeah, or all sort of stuff, because now you have the time and space to work that thing out. So now it's choice. As long as you're busy, being busy, you can say you're too busy to work on that thing. But when all your busyness is snatched away from you, and you're like, so now what do you want to do? Now it's a conscious choice not look at it. So I know that
Yeah.
for me, it was really looking at, I was overweight for 19 years. I was over 80 pounds overweight. And for so long, 19 years, for so long, I just didn't want to be fat. I just didn't want to be overweight. And so 6 years ago, I stepped into my health and wellness. And now it's, where are your goals in that area? And I realized, I need to show up. And so my stillness inside the quarantine and inside that time was really about going, find out what you want and don't be afraid to go after it when it comes to your health and wellness. So I am launching this challenge called Snatching Your Sexy Back. And and it's free. And it's free, and people can go to befitwithlisa.com. And I'm really telling people I'm doing it so I can stay in the game. It's just our commitment to ourselves and each other to make fitness and wellness and allowing ourselves to be inserted and at the front of our own line. Like, I have a long line, like you have a long line of people waiting to be served by you, but stay at the front of your own line. So I just launched this befitwithlisa.com, and then I called it Snatching Your Sexy Back. And I tell people you can replace sexy with whatever you need, snatching your longevity back, snatching your freedom back, snatching your blood pressure back, snatching your health back. And it's my way to stay while I'm serving everybody else. I gotta be in the equation. Lisa, we gotta be in our own equation.
That's so true. I mean, during this time of quarantine, if you're with a family and you're with your husband and kids and wife or significant other or whatever you are saddled in, and all sort of stuff comes up, as you said, and that I think there was about a statistic that said, I don't know, the divorce rate is skyrocketing after COVID because people realize that they just very much so. And it's been for me personally beautiful, because some of the things that I used to be able to jump on a plane and run away from, I've had to really look at and realize, maybe I was the problem.
Right. I love this statement Michelle Obama said when she was on tour for her book, Becoming. She said, when Barack and we did marriage therapy, she said, the more I opened up and talked about the problem and expected them to fix him, the more I realized that I was the one that was causing, that the solution was in me, because the problem was in my thinking. She said, I used to be so angry at Barack because we had 2 little kids and he still had the nerve to go to the gym. And she said she soon realized that he was putting himself at the front of his line, and that her job wasn't to be mad at him. Yeah, her job wasn't to be mad at him being in the gym. Her job was to get in the gym. So it's that opportunity to see where do I play in this equation.
You taught me something so many years ago, and when the house is a mess, and you said, where did I lead you to believe that you could disrespect my house like that? Where did I lead you to believe that you could leave your socks on the floor? Where did I leave you to believe that you could not put that dish in the dishwasher? And I have always remembered that. And so I've done a lot of retraining. I've done a lot of retraining.
Absolutely. And I think, now that we're in this space and we're walking into this space of courageous conversations, courageous exchange together, I think there's an opportunity for us to say, can you trust me with your truth? And trust that I can handle your truth. I think that's a beautiful question to ask, whether it's your husband, whether it's your wife, whether it's your children. Can you trust me to handle your unfiltered truth? And if you can't, and if you can't today, that's okay. If you can't today, that's okay. Tell me what you need from me so that you can trust me with your unfiltered truth? That's a powerful question that we can ask inside of our culture. We can ask across cultural lines, because quite honestly, when we look at a lot of the growth that's going on, it's an individual journey. Growth is an individual journey. Then it becomes a collective journey. So people are jumping up right quick saying, how do I change people's thinking? I go, well, first of all, how are you thinking? Right? Because it's never a them over there. It's always us. We're in every equation, in every situation. And so the question becomes, how can what's my part? And when you look at your part in anything, it needs to be something that can be measurable. We got to watch out for everything being so esoteric, being so, it's so ambiguous. It's so high. It's so high conscious that you can't touch the daily action. What does the daily action look like?
So we have another show that's coming up and we can address this and we can start there. And I'm very excited about that because you drop these bombs right before the show's over. And I'm like, wait, that. But we have 30 seconds. So can you trust me with your unfiltered truth will be our topic the next show. Thank you, Lisa, for your just always. I made it to an interview without crying with you. That's first.
Well,
I love you, my friend.
You have to say progress is being made. I love you, sister.
Yes, and you as well. And please check out the Million Letter Movement and also Lisa on the Be Fit with Lisa journey, BeFitWithLisa.com. And until next time, my sister, I invite us both to stay aware. Thank you.
Yes, I love you, sis.
I love you too.